Hey, it's Whitney from EcoVeganGal.com and welcome back to another Eco Vegan Gal Uncensored. This video is a response to a really sweet, touching email that I received today. So I'm going to read it to you and I'm going to respond completely from the heart. I've only given it a few moments of thought as I prepared to launch this video, but I didn't want to prepare too much. I thought that the answer would be so much more interesting and maybe revealing if I didn't think about it too much. So earlier today is May 12, 2014, I received an email from Kristen. Kristen said, "Hi Whitney, I started watching your YouTube videos and love them. Love the Q&As now. I just started getting your newsletter and of course enjoy your posts on Facebook." I want to pause for a moment and thank you, Kristen, for being so supportive and being so interested in the content. It really means so much to hear that because you just never know how people receive things that you do unless they say it. And not that many people say it. So on to her question. My question here is about your positivity. You just radiate it. I remember being that positive for the largest part of my younger life. At some point, I managed to lose bits of it and now find it a struggle to stay positive when I know there are subjects near and dear to my heart dragging me into the sphere of not so positive. It seems like once you know something, you can't unknow it. I would love to know how you maintain in a world with political, social, and economical forces that want to divert our better nature from making a difference. Any motivational tidbit would be greatly appreciated. So I think it feels really nice to be received as someone so positive. And I know that I am positive a lot of the time. I feel that from the heart, but I also want to remind Kristen and anyone else watching that I'm not always positive. And if you watch other videos on this channel, which are very personal, there are definitely times where I am feeling not so great. So how do I maintain an overall positive perspective? Well, first of all, it's very specific to who I am at the core. And one aspect of myself that some of you may want to try, even though it might feel uncomfortable at first, is just expressing yourself more often, is letting out any negative energy and sharing it with somebody who can receive it. And that's often what I do on this channel. I create these videos, I express my feelings, my thoughts, I let them out, I let them go. And you as an audience receive them. Sometimes you comment on them. And oftentimes, as soon as I'm done recording that video, before I even receive any comments, I feel better because I've let it out. And I think letting out negativity is the most important thing. And we all have our different ways. A huge way that I let out negativity or any unpleasant feelings is yoga right now. And I found this through many forms of exercise, is just getting physical. But I especially have found it helpful through yoga because that's a huge part of what yoga is about. Yoga is about your mind and your body and your spirit all being in alignment, and you're working in all three at the same time. So a perfect example was tonight's yoga practice. I went into the same class that I do 3 times a week. And I love this class. I received so much from this class. I generally feel really positive about this class. But for some reason, tonight's class really threw me off, and I found myself experiencing something I do not normally experience. So I went in there positive, full of energy. I felt physically energized, mentally energized, and I also went in there with a different perspective than usual. I got to my mat, and I was just ready to ground in, and I was ready to experience it. Sometimes I go into class, or most times I should say I go into class, there's part of me that doesn't want to be there. There's part of me, my mind is all over the place, and it takes me a while to get grounded. And for some reason tonight, it was different, and actually ended up being quite the opposite. So usually I experience that ungrounded feeling and then become grounded in class. Tonight, it was like the complete opposite in that I went in feeling really grounded, and throughout the class, I felt really ungrounded. In fact, I started to find myself feeling really angry, which was really bizarre. I'm still trying to wrap my mind around what was going on there. I felt it was a different sensation, not just wanting to get up and leave because I wanted to do other things. It was that I wanted to give up. And I found myself saying, I don't know if I can do this anymore. This class feels so hard and I'm not improving and I'm not doing a good job. And maybe I need to go down to a different level of yoga. Maybe this is too advanced for me. And I was really kind of not necessarily beating myself up, but feeling like I wanted to give up. It was very odd. And I don't know where that was coming from. So I found myself just flooded with this negativity. So what did I do? I worked to let it go. I focused in on it. I allowed myself, I gave myself permission to have those feelings, and I committed to letting them go, but I also committed to just letting myself feel them. I wasn't pressuring myself to let them go at ASAP. I just said, all right, I'm going to sit with these feelings. I'm going to feel them, and they're going to go when they're ready to go. I'm not going to procrastinate. I'm not going to sit on them for too long and mope around. I want them to leave as soon as possible, of course, but I wanted to be patient with myself. And that's something a lot of us don't do. A lot of times when we feel negative, we beat ourselves up and we make it worse. We feel guilty about being negative. We feel guilty maybe about being depressed or sad. We're trying to rush through something, and that doesn't really help. Sometimes that drags us down even further. The feelings become even more intensified when we think that way. So that's something that I'm really working through and something I've really learned through yoga. So number one, my personal recommendation is to just try yoga. Try it for, I would say, a month if you can. There are so many amazing ways to get great deals for a month all over the country and the world. Maybe you can even get it for free somehow, do a donation class. Try yoga even if you're resistant to it, because if you're trying to work on yourself, if you're trying to feel better about yourself, yoga just has so many benefits. Although it might not be for everyone, so you might want to find a different form, whether it's Pilates or hiking or walking or running. Everybody kind of has their different experiences. I still say try yoga, but if it's not for you, it's not for you. Try something else. And make it about not just your physical experience, but your mental experience as well. And I also really recommend classes. So perhaps it's not yoga, perhaps it's a different form of exercise class. Find a teacher who is not just focusing on your body, but is going to focus on your mind too. And that's why it's easy to go into a yoga class and have this experience, because that's how yoga classes are designed, most of them at least. But who knows? You could go to a regular fitness class. If they're saying motivational things to you throughout class, spinning, I found this as well, is really important to focus on the positive, because spinning is very challenging. Surrounding yourself with that. And that comes to my second big point and my second big piece of advice is surrounding yourself with the right people. This is probably the most important thing, because we're not always able to do it on our own. But being around other people who are going to help rise us up and remind us why we're doing what we're doing with our lives, remind us what we're working towards, remind us how we want to think, how we want to live, how we want to feel, how we want to act, what we want to look like. All of those people, not necessarily as mentors, they can be equal to you, or they could be perhaps in the next step up and wherever you want to be in your life to help motivate you there, maybe like as a mentor or something. Those people are just massively important. This could be a best friend. This could be a parent. This could be someone you meet online. It could be me, perhaps. I try to be that type of person through my videos. I want you all to feel uplifted. And it seems like I was having that effect on Kristen. But what's interesting there is that she still doesn't know how to get there. To me, it's just a commitment. It's taking all of these different pieces and all these different strategies and committing to them. Positivity is a commitment. It's a practice. It's something that we have to work on, especially if we're faced with a lot of negativity. This could be personal negativity. This could be global negativity. This could be negativity in specific parts of your life. This could be negativities throughout your life, right? And we have to commit to working through it. We have to be determined and driven and push through it. And again, that's something else I find through my yoga practice. There are days where it's more challenging for me on a mental level, and there are days where it's really challenging for me on a physical level. And either way, I have to stay there committed to it. I'm committed to that class. I'm committed to showing up for each class. I'm committed to working through the poses and not giving up. And I'm committed to just letting myself be where I am and trying to grow. And that's where I start to see the success. For whatever reason, in many Western cultures, we're raised with kind of these big expectations and all of these possibilities, and life can be so grand. All you have to do is work towards it. And yet, many aspects of Western culture, America, the UK, wherever it may be, Australia, there's still this kind of, oh, well, it's all right. You can take a break, or you don't have to push yourself so hard, or it's okay every once in a while, indulge, always in moderation. There's so many leniencies, and I believe that leniencies are important in true moderation. But I feel like most of Western culture and the marketing world gets us really confused about what that means, in that we almost haven't been trained how to succeed properly, whether it's our careers, whether it's our bodies, whether it's our physical minds. There's kind of obstacles that most people never make it over. In many cases, we're led to get to a certain point, and then it stops and there's a roadblock, and most people just turn around and walk the other direction. And maybe they'll try again and they'll get back to that place and turn around. What does it take for you to get over that hump? And the same thing as when it comes to positivity. You may have some tools that you've learned in life to get to a certain point, but when you hit that wall, what do? To me, that's where the commitment and the drive and the passion and the perseverance comes through. You have to figure out how to get over that wall. And it's going to be different for everybody, right? Unfortunately, our minds can be wired and susceptible. We could be susceptible to feeling depressed or down, negative because of our family, because of where we're living, because of the people that are around us. And again, that's where that point about surrounding yourself with really positive people that are doing their best all the time. You need those people in your life. And again, you can find them anywhere. They don't have to be around you. And they might be people that you need to seek out. That's where it comes that obstacle again. If you come up to this wall and say, there's no one in my life that's positive. My friends aren't positive. My romantic partner isn't positive. My kids aren't positive, etc., etc. Do you stop there and give up? Or do you try to get over that wall and say, there must be some other people on the other side of this wall, right? And they are there. Maybe they're part of a meetup or an event that you go to. Maybe they're part of some online network that you're part of. They could be a phone call or a written message away. These people are out there, so you have to seek them. You have to go over that wall. You have to see what's on the other side. What is that amazing philosophical story about the shadows? Is it Plato? I can't remember. It's so hard to reference this without having all the facts, but I believe the story is something about how many people just see shadows. They don't actually know what is being projected, right? Where they're coming from, but we believe just what we see there, and maybe we are content with our life just seeing a shadow of something and believing that the shadows are real. But the actual reality is what's actually being projected there, right? And that's what I mean with this wall, is that a lot of people in life just see this wall and they just think there's nothing beyond it. Anything in front of this wall or what I've experienced so far is what life is. But my personal perspective, and that's why I remain so positive, because I always see something on the other side. And it's not necessarily a grass is always greener. It's just that if I'm not happy with what's happening in my life, I have to see that there's something more to it. And I'm always striving. I'm always jumping over. And once I get over one, I figure it out. I feel my happiness there. And if I start to feel negative again, I go towards the next one. And that drive, that perseverance, that life is just getting bigger and bigger and bigger, not just a dead end all the time, is what keeps me going, and a huge part of the reason I'm positive. And that's probably why I enjoy yoga too, is every yoga class I have something new to learn. And tonight was an interesting example. I came up against a wall and I had my moment. I have my moment where I wanted to turn around. I don't know where that came from because that's not typical of me. So I guess that's another good example, is that even somebody that seems positive all the time, even somebody that seems like they're always clearing walls, we still come across obstacles and we still have our moments of weaknesses where we want to give up, right? But it's that mindset of stopping yourself when you find yourself wanting to give up or turn around and saying, keep going. And so in tonight's class, I found myself being okay with getting halfway up the wall. I didn't get over the wall or to the top of it or as close to the top of the wall as I normally do in my yoga class, but I at least didn't turn around and go the opposite direction. And I think that that's really the key, as Kristen was saying here, with political, social, economical forces. To me, so many of those are just illusions, and they're experiences that are so neutral. Another great tip I learned today, I'm taking this amazing class on money, and it's by this woman who wrote this incredible book called Money: A Love Story. I'll link to it down below. I recommend it to everyone because so many of us have issues when it comes to money, and that's a whole nother emotional topic here. One thing she said is that money isn't real. Money is made up by humans, and really, money equals value. So to me, she was also, my other point there was that many things, including money, are neutral. It's really what we put on them as human beings that assign value to them and weight to them. So if we choose to see something as positive or negative, that is really just our experiences of it. And what often happens is people around us in life will support that. We'll surround ourselves with people who believe the same things as us, right? And if we are having a negative mindset, we're probably going to surround ourselves with a lot of negative people. However, if you have a positive mindset and you happen to be surrounded by negative people, you can jump out of it, like I said, going to the other side of the wall and finding other people. And when you start to surround yourself with positive people, what's going to happen? You're going to feel more positive. And this is so true of so many things. We just have to get out of any sort of negative cycle. Of course, there are things that we might not necessarily be able to change as individuals. Oftentimes, the way our society works is collectively. And that's, again, why it's so important to surround yourself with like-minded people, because the power of the power of a collective group of people is very, very strong. So when it comes to politics, for example, well, there are lots of things that you can do in little groups that can kind of override or bypass some of the political things happening. You can make choices. You could technically move to another part of the world if you really don't agree with politics. Or you can look out for ways that you can improve your life that don't necessarily have to be that involved. I personally, as I've said in videos before, I don't think that much about the government, and I know I have a social responsibility, but I also really like the way that my life is. And it's really not until I hit a wall that is put up by the government that I might start to take action. But most parts of my life, I feel like, are just flowing really well, and I'll pay attention to the news and things like that. But, in terms of politics and all of that, it's like if it's negative, I don't really want any part of it. I'm either going to work to change it, or I'm going to choose to look at it positively and do something more positive than the negative stuff happening. There's so many things in life happening that we just don't have control over, but we'll always have control over ourselves, assuming you live in a free country, which fortunately, if you're watching this video, I can assume that you do. And we also have to recognize how incredibly fortunate we are to have so much freedom, to be able to use the internet, to be able to communicate with each other. And what can we do to make a difference that way? It all starts with yourself. It starts with that mind shift. It starts with who you surround yourself with. It starts with the actions, your perseverance, moving forward, and getting very clear. And I guess that's the last thing I would say here, is that getting clear on what you want out of life makes a massive difference. Unfortunately, many people are unclear about what they want. I feel very clear right now, but who knows? I might change my mind about and do something completely different with my life. But I'm clear right now, and that helps enormously. That's why I wake up every morning just rearing to go, so excited. I have a to-do list a mile long, and I can't wait to check it all off, and it's so exhilarating every time. And that to me is one of the things I most appreciate, is that every day I'm learning something new, and I'm getting clearer and clearer about what I want to do and how I'm going to achieve it. And I've got this huge goal that I want to reach, and well, I should say goals, but like a huge overall goal, and then all sorts of little goals that relate to that. And it's just that constant going over every obstacle. And when I feel negative, feeling it, but moving past it as soon as possible. And I think that what I've realized for a lot of people is that if they are feeling depressed, if they're feeling like their lives don't really matter, they feel like they don't have a purpose. They don't have goals. They're not clear about what the point of their life is. And that could be a matter of who they're surrounded themselves with, or a matter of just not knowing how to figure out what their life is about. So I'm curious to hear from you, Kristen, and anybody else watching, what's going on in your own life and where are you feeling stuck? And is the negativity overall, or is it specific to certain things? And if it's overall, I would be willing to bet it's got a lot to do with you feeling stuck in your life. It's got a lot to do with the people that you're surrounding yourself with. And getting stuck and out of whatever it is that you're at the moment, and recognizing that everybody can make a change. One of my favorite quotes is right now is by Marie Forleo, who I talk about a lot these days. She says, everything is figure outable. If you're watching this video right now, chances are you're interested, especially if you're still watching. How long has this been? Over 20 minutes. You're interested in this, right? And you're watching this because you're online and you have so much more power than you realize, is my point here. So things are definitely figure outable for you. You can do this. You can make things happen. You can change your mindset. You can change your life. You can have exactly what you want. But you have to be clear on what it is that you want. And that will help you get clear on how to get there. And that'll help you get clear on who you want to surround yourself with. And it'll be clear what you need to do, what steps, whether it's yoga, whether it's business choices, traveling, moving, people, you'll get there. And to me, when you start to figure all that out, life becomes super positive. I love this question. It took me in a different direction I didn't know it was going to, because I said at the beginning, I didn't know where I was going to go with this. So thank you all for listening. And Kristen, I hope this helps. I feel like I could talk about this for a lot longer. So I'd be happy to do another video on this if you want to ask more in-depth questions. And that is true for anybody watching. I read your comments. I take them into account. And I'm always trying to make content around what you love to hear and support you. That's what these videos are for. We're supporting each other. You are my online community. Thank you so much for watching. For all things healthy, eco-friendly, and vegan, you will find it at ecovegangal.com. If you want to continue the conversation outside of YouTube, social media is where it's at, and the links are in the description field below. I also have that link to the book, The Money, a Love Story, I'm reading right now. Phenomenal. Highly recommend it. And as Kristen said at the beginning so kindly, I have the newsletter, which is also linked down below, and I would love to see you guys there. I'm always trying to have inspirational content amongst educational and empowering content there. And I love having you all within this social world. You are the positive people that I surround myself with. And so you make a difference and you are impacting my positivity. I wouldn't be here if it wasn't for you, literally, in the YouTube sense, I mean. Looking forward to the next video and hearing your comments. I'll see you next time.